clean that. What's up, guys? Trying to find my flip-flops. Maybe. Hope everybody's doing well. The OFR stream's running a little long tonight, but I figured I'd go live anyways. And the title of the stream is about the pond, so I'm walking outside right now. I saw there was actually quite a few people in here already. Hope everybody's doing well. But, alright. It's been a long week. Let me flip you around. Here's the pond. And as I was talking about hundreds and hundreds of guppies, that is no lie. They are everywhere. These are the fry. All these guys right here were the fry that hatch, well, not hatch, but were born in this pond, so they are getting quite large. It looks out of focus. Is it in focus? There we go. Now I'm getting text messages. All right. Other Tiffany's here. Hello. Mickey, Jim. How's everybody doing? So here's the pond. I did fertilize this a few days ago, so it's extra green water tonight. What is the temp in the pond? I can actually tell you. It looks like it's 82 degrees. 82. But went ahead and fertilized it. The water list was looking pretty down, I guess. I don't know really the word. It's not really struggling, but it's got some dieback. So I thought maybe I'd fertilize the pond. So I fertilized it. Made the green water a little extra green, but everybody's doing well. These are tequila sunrise guppies. I'm going to have to start pulling these out and putting them in an aquarium and seeing what they look like. I might do that tomorrow. My buddy Mike's coming over, and I think we're going to try to pull some of these out and start getting these guys ready to sell because they're growing really quickly. These guppies that are in here are not far off from breeding themselves. There is breeding pairs, well, multiple pairs in here. All the breeders stay deep in the water. You rarely ever see them. There's a couple mosaic guppies I threw in here. I was trying to get like some mixed strains going, just really cool mutts. But right now it's all tequila sunrise. But there's hundreds in here, so I need to start getting them out, seeing what I have, get some pictures of them, and start selling these on the website. Because before long, once all these guys start breeding, all these F1s, they will, or well, Gen 1s will, I mean, it'd be insane how many will be in here. I'm also going to take some to my friend's house, put in their pond to help with mosquitoes, because these guys love mosquito larvae. Mickey said, wow, that's pretty warm, 82. Yeah, I mean, guppies are so versatile. They go really cold water, and they seem to do okay in the hot water as long as there's oxygen. The hotter the water, the less oxygen there is. So once you get up above the 80s, you definitely want aeration. That's why I have the waterfall as my filtration. That's mainly to oxygenate the water. If I didn't have that, I'd run an air stone like I have on that pond over there. But I might as well show you guys this. I went ahead and painted the door to my car because I gotta get that the car out of the garage so that way I can start the 2,000-gallon aquarium. Tomorrow I'm prepped for the fender. I gotta paint that. Keep moving along on that because the 2,000 needs to get rolling. I'm gonna show you guys some other stuff. I'm working on a video. Halfway through with recording, but I've been breeding the Barbados cories. So I'm doing a whole video on just those, and I'll show you guys those right here. So these are the Barbados cories. These guys are pretty sweet. But I have videos of them actually spawning, the female depositing eggs, the male coming in and fertilizing them. pulling the eggs and all that stuff. I can show you guys a little bit. I don't want to give out too much because there is a video. So I'm splitting the eggs in 2 different ways, basically to test to see which way's better. So one way is I put some eggs, you know, you see some here on the glass, there's a pile down here. So they're in the fry rack. So this is heated. The Barbados tank that I just showed you is non-heated, and let's see what the temperature is. It was 73 earlier because I did a water change, and the water comes from my fish room, which is heated. So it's 74, so it still needs to cool down a bit. I'm going to let it drop a couple more degrees before I feed them tonight. But typically it's around 70, 71 degrees. So I'm putting some of their eggs in the fry rack, seeing if the warmer water has any effect. Does it make them not hatch? Does it make them hatch faster? And then the other one, if you guys follow my page regularly, you'll see that I did a community post about the Zis brine shrimp hatchery. I have a video about it, hatching brine shrimp. Well, I turned it into a basically like a fish hatchery. So this has methylene blue in it, right there, methylene blue. And then the eggs are in here. I don't know if I can get it to focus very well on the live stream, but I'm trying to see if they hatch in here, which they should. But the only thing I'm nervous about is I pulled these eggs when they were super fresh. Super fresh. So what I don't know is I might have pulled these eggs before they got fertilized. Normally, I don't really catch them spawning. I just so happened to do a water change, and I fed them frozen bloodworms. And like 5 minutes later, I looked over and there's eggs. I was like, oh, like they spawned, like cool. Well, I've never caught eggs that quickly, and when I pulled them, they were pretty soft. And normally they're like, I don't want to say they're hard, but they're very firm. So I'm afraid that I pulled them so soon that the male might have not fertilized them. So I don't know if those are going to even be viable. I don't know. I know I left, where are they at? These eggs, I let sit in the tank longer. The problem is, here's the problem. You could say that I just leave them in there all night. Some of the adults, so there's 6 in there. There's 6 adults. 4 of them are definite breeding pairs. So there's 2 pairs. They're definite breeders. I sat there and watched that tank for like an hour the other night. I had my phone out. I was recording them. There's definitely 2 breeding pairs. The other 2 fish, I'm not sure if they're really paired up or not, but I for sure saw 2 pairs. Problem is with the eggs, sometimes the adults, whether it's the pair or the other pair or the ones that might not be a pair, they'll eat the eggs. So when they first started putting eggs on the glass, they were there, and like a minute later, they ate them all. So I jumped the gun. I pulled a bunch before they got eaten. I don't know if they're fertilized. And I have video of them laying the eggs and fertilizing the eggs. So you'll be able to see that once I do the video. I don't want to release the video until they hatch, because I want to make it like an educational video. Here's step 1, step 2, this is what I did. And this whole splitting them up between the fry rack and the hatchery is just experimenting to see if the hatchery, where is it? The hatchery right there is just room temperature. So it's going to match the tank that they came out of. So I'm trying to see, is it better in that? Is it better if they're a little bit warmer? You know, so I'm just trying to see what's what with it, I guess. So that's what's new this week. I got my glass for my tank. I mean, no really point in showing you guys it right now. So it's sat outside of OFR in their backyard, so it's got a bunch of like dirt on it. I need to clean them up. I got to change the plans, or not the plans, but the design on the tank. If you watch that video, the L-shaped tank. I'm going to move back into the studio. Oh, my audio's on. Mute. The rainbow tank's looking better too. That's what's right behind me. Get it. Get you guys on the tripod. All right. So, the glass panels, I got 3 of them. They were 40 inches by 40 inches. That's why I designed the stand, or not the stand, but the tank off of. Well, it turns out they're 40 inches by 40 inches. 2 of them are that size. One's actually a little bit longer, kind of cool. So I got to redesign it just to make that longer panel fit in there, because that stand's actually the whole like CAD drawings built to scale. So every millimeter like in that picture is an inch. So each of those panels I design is 40 millimeters, so it's 40 inches. So a lot of comments on the videos. Some people mention about having the dome in the end would be hard to clean. Being on like your hands and knees to look in it. So the tank's going to be on a stand. The stand's not in that drawing. So, because the stand's like nothing like to build. Like it's super easy to build a stand. The stand just has to have vertical strength versus like horizontal strength. As far as like the tank needs horizontal strength to keep the walls from bowing or blowing out. So I'm not like doing a CAD drawing. I will maybe down the road once I build the tank. I'll do a stand video or something to show that process of it. But the drawing is just the tank. It will be off the ground for like 2 or 3 reasons. The main reason is viewing height. If it's off the ground, it looks better, right? So that's the number 1 reason. Number 2, storage. This thing's going to take up a lot of space in my garage. I want to have storage underneath of it that I can put, you know, garden hoses for the fish room, or, you know, equipment, stuff I can put underneath of it. The third thing is, if I need to run in plumbing, it can run down and underneath the stand. Sand waterfall, seem like people like that idea. I still want to do it. I've done a sand waterfall before. It's in my 75 gallon. I just used a lift tube design with an air stone, and it worked until it got clogged. And I think a snail got up in there and got stuck or died, and it basically blocked the sand flow. I should have used a bigger tube. It was, I think, 3/4 inch PVC. I should have used like 1 inch to help prevent that. This system is not going to use airflow. It's going to use a jet pump. I think Aqua Pros maybe did this like years ago on his channel, and that's the style I'm going to use. That basically uses water through a tube with a slash cut. It creates basically a siphon, and it siphons the sand in. That way you're always forcing water through it versus, you know, relying on air to lift it. And I will be able to make sure that fish or shrimp or whatever snails can't get into that tube. So I'm going to use the jet tube to do the waterfall. I think it'd be sweet to have a 4-foot tall tank with a 4-foot waterfall coming down. It'd just be like a cool little feature of the tank, something nice to look at, and it's just something I kind of want to do. And you know, down the road I can always change it around, but I think that's where I want to start. I have another video I worked on. It's like super easy, like simple. It's just it's going to be like OFR fish that are here. It's just a quick video of like the fish that I have brought from OFR here. I think I have 4 different species of fish that I've brought home from OFR over the last months and months. So I just doing a quick video of that. This is the first weekend I haven't been to OFR in this will be week 6. I went to OFR 5 weekends in a row. And last weekend was supposed to be like a relaxing weekend, and it wasn't. The weekend before was supposed to be, and it wasn't. So this weekend was supposed to be. Well, I got some plans now this weekend. It's not OFR. It's not even fish related, but if you watched the OFR video of picking up the forklift, the farm I went to, White Oak Stables, where I got the truck and the trailer, They invited me out to go on an all-day trail ride on horses this weekend. So I'm doing that Sunday. And I was out there actually yesterday to practice. I've been on a horse once, and it was around an arena, and that was years ago. So I went out there last night, and we rode, and it was raining, and we were out there in the rain, and I got on the horse I'm going to use so I can like learn him a little bit, learn the commands again, and just try to get more comfortable because Sunday is, I don't know where we're going, at some big park, I'm assuming. I thought they said maybe it was like 18 miles of trails. I'm not sure. But I asked him, I was like, what does all day mean to you? So I guess it's going to be, I'm going to meet him up early in the morning. Actually, I don't even know if they said what time I need to be there. But I got to go there in the morning, I'm assuming. We got to load up the horses. There's 4 of us going that I know of. So we got to load up 4 horses and drive to wherever this is. And I think we're going to pack lunches. We're going to put saddlebags on the horses so we can like carry water and food and snacks or whatever. We're going to eat lunch. They said bring a change of clothes because there's water. So I don't know if they mean like water we can swim in, or we're going to be like walking the horses through water if there's like a river. I don't know. I'm along for the ride. Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully it's not too stressful. You know, I would much rather be on a dirt bike because I can control a dirt bike exactly how I want it to go. With a horse, I don't know. There's just something about a horse that kind of, you know, they make up their own mind, really. Like, you're not really, I feel like you're really not in control. My buddy Josh was on his horse, you know, to, you know, warm up, I guess, for Sunday. And his horse didn't really want to do what Josh was telling him to do. So mine was doing great. The only thing I saw with my horse was that he wants to go faster, which is cool. He walks fast, and he really wants to go, and I'm cool with that. So, other than that, he did what I asked him to do. So, fingers crossed that Sunday will be fine, and I'll have my phone with me, so I'll take video. It won't be fish related, obviously, but you guys seem to like whatever content I make, really, in general, whether it's fish related or not. So that's cool. So I'll probably do a video. I don't know how much I'll be able to record while trying to control a big horse with my phone. I do have a GoPro, but I don't really feel like messing with the GoPro while I'm on a trail and all that stuff. So I'll probably just take my phone, and once everybody's comfortable and we're just trail riding, I'll try to get out and record. And, you know, wherever we stop, if we stop somewhere, if it's got like cool scenery or something, I'll record it as we go. So that will be a video. And what I've been trying to do is release, thank you for whoever just put that order in. Oh, am I back? Okay. Sorry guys, I tried to swipe away the order and I accidentally clicked on it and it took me into the order screen. My bad. So, that's Sunday. So tomorrow, I actually have to work. I guess luckily, I haven't worked a Saturday in like 2 months because I work one like Saturday a month. The last Saturday I had to work was the 4th of July and we were closed, so it skipped. So it's been like 2 months since I had to work a Saturday, which has been awesome, and it worked out with OFR because I was going up there every weekend. So tomorrow I gotta work. As I mentioned earlier, my buddy Mike's gonna come over, and I think we're going to mess around with the pond. I ordered like a case of frozen food. He's going to come and get some frozen food from me, and I gotta do like laundry and all this house stuff I've been putting off now for a month and a half just because of going OFR. Because the OFR's been like a whole weekend thing. Like, I basically get off work Friday, and I immediately grab my dogs and take them to my parents' house, and then I get home usually late Sunday nights. It was, 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night. By the time I leave OFR, go to my parents' house, grab my dogs, get home. So nothing around the house has been getting done. Yard work needs done, and I need to clean stuff up. This room's a mess. Like, the whole house is a mess. There's shipping boxes everywhere. I really need to get organized. I think I need to hire an organizer. That's probably what I need. I'm going to hop in the chat. I haven't been in the chat yet, so I want to see who's here and what's going on with everybody. Joe Campbell's here. Hello. Moonstone, hello. Sickless23, good to see you, bud. You're here. You know, pretty much all of you are here every week. Super awesome to see everybody. John's here. Hi, bud. Oh, I'm clicking on stuff again. Mickey says, we're lucky if we get a month of 82. So we are the month of July. I heard on the radio, I think it was yesterday morning. This is the second hottest July we've ever had in history. It's been really hot. It's mainly been humid too. It's been very hot and very humid, which sucks. We did have, I don't know if I think it was this week, we had a day where like the humidity was really low. It was amazing. It was like high 80s with like real low humidity. It felt awesome. But yeah, it's been in the 90s this week. I know the other day they said with the humidity it was like 96 or something like that. Ohio weather is definitely, if you want to have every season known, you move to Ohio. It could be hundreds in the summer and it can be negatives in the winter. You can go from 78 degrees one day and snow the next, and that's no exaggeration. But yeah, so John said, I would draw custom tank designs for years, but never build any of them, so this build of yours is pretty exciting to watch. Thanks. I've been kind of getting bored, and I basically started all this YouTube stuff when I built my fish room, because I find building stuff and creating stuff is fun. That's like my fun time. And it's like right when I get done building something, I kind of like enjoy it for a little bit, and then I get bored. And I get bored super easily. So this is like the fun process for me again, designing the tank, listening to people's inputs, and then really pausing, because a lot of times I get something in my head and I ignore everybody's opinions and I just do what I want. But now I'm like, you know, taking it easy, listening to people's opinions and thoughts and ideas, and then I contemplate, like, is that a good idea? And it might be a good idea, but if I just don't like it, then I'm not doing it. But yeah, so it's getting back into it, and I think it would be a good build series, because it's not just the tank, because this tank has a lot of stuff that goes with it. I could build the tank right now if I wanted to, but I don't have the place to put it. And even if I had the garage cleaned out right now, the garage isn't set up to have fish in it yet. So I still have to like tear down the drywall, insulate the interior walls. I'm putting up plastic paneling instead of drywall, so that way it's waterproof, and it's super easy to take down if I need to take it down. I'm going to redo all the lighting in the garage, redoing all the power, GFCI outlets, of course, on everything. I guess the first step is I have a sub panel already put in the garage when I first moved in the house. That's the first thing I did. Before I even had a bed in my house, I put a sub panel in the garage. I'm a car guy, so I wanted 220 in the garage for a big air compressor or a welder. It's all out there. So it's got a new circuit, and it's got enough amperage that it'll power anything I need for the fish room, or for the fish garage now. But the goal is the whole garage will be converted to a fish room. My current fish room, all those tanks will go out to the garage. The bonus thing of that is water leaks. So I had a water leak this week, and that's another video I'm doing. So I'm doing a top 10. You know, all the channels have a top 10, like best aquarium products or whatever. The top 10 of mine is what I use the most. I don't want to give everything away, but water leak detection is on that list, and I go into about what I use, and I think I have probably in my mind, until I release a video and I get the comments, I think I have in my mind the best water leak detection possible. I can't think of anything better that I could do, or any product that's better than what I have right now. Once I release the video, you guys can put your input in on it. And I mentioned a couple other ways to have water leak detection that's available. It's things I don't have or I don't use, because I really think what I have is the best possible ever, I guess. But I flooded my room again this week, and I've done this probably 3 times now. And what happens is I have those 55-gallon drums in my fish room. I pump water into those drums. Those drums basically acclimate they're not completely full, so we'll say it's 100 gallons of water to the room temperature, so that way when I do water changes, it's exactly the same temperature of water. All that water goes through a carbon block filter, so it pulls out chlorine, so I don't have to use any kind of water treatment to remove the chloramine or chlorine. Anyways, I filled up the barrel, and it's rudimentary. I turn a knob on the faucet, it just starts pumping water in. What happens with me is I get sidetracked. And whoever just put that order in, I'm not going to touch the screen unless that won't go away. Thank you for that order. I appreciate it, guys. 614fish.com in case you didn't know. Anyways, I got sidetracked, and I forgot I was filling it. And I don't know if this is when I was messing with the Barbados Cories or if I was in here, but my alarm system went off. Water detected. And as soon as I heard the phone, I didn't even have to read it. As soon as I heard my phone go off, it's like eyes wide open, running through the house, flinging open the garage or the laundry room door to the fish room. And I'm like cussing, turning off the water. And there's like a delay because the water pumps into the barrel faster than it can leak out. So even once I turn off the water, water's still pouring out. And this barrel is 6 feet off the ground, or 5.5 feet off the ground. So it's a waterfall of water onto the floor. Luckily, it's a slab concrete house. There's no basement, and it's got waterproof flooring in that room. So that's a bonus. The downside is it goes everywhere, and it creates a ton of humidity in the house. So I have a portable AC unit that I use in my bedroom because I like being cold. And basically just crank that sucker up because it does a really good job of pulling moisture out of the air. The house AC pretty much always runs. It's so hot that it just runs basically all day long, so it's pulling water out. But then I have a blower fan I put in the fish room to help blow that moisture out of the fish, because the fish room's not cooled. There's no temperature control in it right now. It just heats up basically from being on the corner of the house. It gets up to like 80 degrees, like peak heat during the day, and then I can control that. I can make it lower by just leaving the door open to the house. The house is like 70 degrees, so it kind of mixes, and that's how I control the heat in the fish room during the summer. It's super nice because there's no electricity being pumped into that room to heat it. I guess, and usually when I leave the door open, it's on my lunch break, and then when I get home from work. So that helps like lower the temperature, but it also, since the AC is running the house, the air in here is drier than the high humidity in that fish room. So that dry air goes in there, the humidity mixes with it, and it helps lower the humidity. That's in that top 10 video of another device I have in there that I use that I think all the fish rooms need. It's like a 5-in-1 meter type deal. But yeah, so that happened this week. But the garage, so the nice thing is the garage is all concrete. It's also sloped out. So if for some reason there was a fish tank leak, I left water on, but I'm doing the fish room to eliminate all these possibilities other than like a tank busting or something like that. These operator errors I'm getting rid of. I won't have these issues because after having a fish room now for a couple years, I've learned from my mistakes what not to do. So that's going to be in the build list of like plumbing the water system to the garage will be a video on how to make it not necessarily bulletproof, because you never know what could happen. A PVC pipe could break, and there's nothing I could do about that. But as far as filling like a stock tank of water to have on hand, actually I hear my dogs barking. I need to go let them in. Let's go walk. But there's going to be a video in that playlist of, you know, setting up the electrical, setting up the water for filling and for draining. But if anything should happen, that garage is sloped, all the water would basically go out the garage door down the driveway. Come on, girls. The other thing that's kind of nice about that, and I'll have water sensors out there so I know if something like that happens, but if a massive amount of water starts going down my driveway, I have a driveway camera that's on my alarm system, and if it sees like movement like that, it will alert me too. So it's kind of a redundant fail-safe. It's all about redundancy. Like when something, especially when it comes to water, put you guys back in the holder. Sorry for all the shakiness, guys. But yeah, it's going to be, I'm getting sidetracked again. It's going to be a decent-sized playlist. It's going to be a lot of videos over the next 6 months. I mean, I'm guessing this is going to turn into like a winter project. There's stuff that I'm working on now, and you know, when winter hits and like less outdoor activities are happening, that's when like I've built both my fish rooms. My fish room, the stands. The first stand was 2 winters ago. The second iteration of it was last winter. So I think majority of the work will probably get done over winter, but it's all progressive steps. So the first thing is the design of the tank, so I know the footprint in the garage. Once I know how the filtration is going to be set up, that's when I can plan my electrical for the walls, because the garage has like 2 outlets and they're both on the fish room outlets, so it's a shared circuit. I don't want that. I'm taking all that out. The garage is going to be powered strictly off of that sub panel, and I'm going to lay out. My goal is to have enough outlets to where I don't need any power strips. So power strips are a big cause of fires in houses. A lot of people will overload a power strip, and they think because it has that switch, it's like a circuit breaker. But what happens is that they're running so much amperage through those power strips, they actually start melting and catching fire. Surge protectors protects against surges. So you can still be running enough amperage to get that thing hot and have it catch fire. So my goal is, and plans could change, is to have enough outlets in the fish room to where I don't need power strips. And that would work. I know, like, just thinking, like, spitballing, I know that will work on the outside walls of the garage. I know I'll have tanks in the middle. I'll put a bunch of outlets in the ceiling, but inevitably I'll probably need a power strip. And if anything, I'll do those industrial where they're like 6 foot long instead of like the little small ones to help space it out. But I want minimum power strips in the fish room. I'm trying to think what else. USB ports. I think I saw that pop up on the chat. Something about USB. There are outlets that have your, here in the United States, 110 with USBs in it. I do use USB air pumps, but they're, you know, USB air pumps are probably, well, I guess they could be 12 volts. It could be 5 volts or 12. It's probably 12 volts. I'm not too concerned with having USBs in the outlets. For that, I can run like a USB hub. You know, it just plugs in 110, and they make USB hubs where it's like 20 ports. So you could run 20, you know, air pumps off one USB hub that goes into your 110 outlet. You know, something like that is what I could do, because I don't plan on running really any USB air pumps in the fish room because it's going to be central air. That's the most efficient. And yeah, so I'll have an airline loop around the garage to do all the drops. I'll pre-plan. I'll even have it set up to where I can run 2 air pumps. It'll be a redundancy thing, so if one pump fails, there's a second pump running. Probably right off the rip, I'll only buy one pump because I don't know how much they are right now. Probably $130 for the smaller ones, and it goes up in price. So instead of dropping like $250 or $400 for two decent sized pumps, I'll probably just buy one, but have it plumbed in, and then like after a while I can add the second pump. So that maintains flow, and then redundancy. I'm all about redundancy. Um, there's somebody remind me in a little bit to talk about medications, because I've had a few orders. I'll just talk about it now. All right, let's get sidetracked. Medications, guys. I sell a lot of medications. The Paraclins, the Expel P, General Cure, Furin 2, Maricins. I sell a ton. It's like my top selling thing is medicines, medications. I get a lot of emails, and I ship out quick. So if you place your order, we'll say by 4:30, 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it ships out same day. And physically, if it gets placed later than that, there's nothing I can do. The post office is closed. So as long as you get the order in, even at the latest 5 p.m., ships out same day. I know medications are important. Here's the issue. People are ordering medications after they have an issue. They don't have them on hand. So I get a lot of emails. Somebody places an order for medications, whether they get like a med trio, or if they're targeting one specific thing, they're getting like Paraclins, or if they're getting Maricin. But they say, hey, like my fish has this disease. I need this ASAP. Like, I understand. Like, that's why I ship out same day, because I know people need medications because they have an issue. And time is against you at that point, because, you know, everything I ship is 3 days or quicker. Granted, there could be a postal delay, so don't hold me to that. But every method I ship is always 3 days or faster. So my biggest thing is have medications on hand before you have an issue. Buy a 10-pack instead of a 20-pack. Just buy the 10-pack, and even if you have a 100-gallon tank, that 10-pack, even though that only treats 100 gallons, buys you the 3 days so you can order more. Because usually you treat something, and then then read the instructions. It will say it will, you know, you got to do it for 2 days, and then do a 25% water change, and then retreat. Having medications on hand buys you that time of that initial treatment, and that could be saving your fish or not, you know. So my biggest thing, I know this got sideways, have medications on hand. Have ICX is what I use. You can use Ruby Kick Ick. Have a liquid parasite, which is your ick medication, and then your like General Cure or Paraclins or Expel P or Maricin. Have like the generic ones on hand and ready to go in case something happens. And because medications do have expiration date, Corey from Aquarium Co-op has mentioned he thinks that medications, the expiration dates, is kind of like the FDA thing, where they say like, hey, after like 2 years, like you shouldn't use it. It's still the medication. He thinks that it's still fine, but just so you know, there is an expiration on those. So that's why I say buy like a 10-pack. Buy a 10-pack of each medication, and you know, just for safeties. But let me get in the chat and see where I'm at on that. I read that. Chevy Fish, hello. John said you can draw the entire room with the tank to see how you like it in context. Yeah, that's another thing I could do. I can, since I have the tank to scale, I could design the room to scale. The garage, it's not just like a square garage. There's a fireplace in the garage, like the chimney's in the garage, not a fireplace. It's like the chimney. So there's actually like cutouts on each side of the chimney. So I don't know. Originally, I thought about trying to like put the tank in one of those cutouts to use up that space, but now I'm thinking of just using those cutouts as like storage. Because I want to do like a shipping station in the fish room. That's something that I want, just like a plastic table. So when I bag fish, I can do it all out there. Moving along. Felt any earthquakes lately, or was that locally to LA? I didn't know there was an earthquake. I don't really watch the news or anything just because I'm tired of hearing all the negativity that's on there. So I don't know anything about it. We don't have earthquakes in Ohio. I mean, we do, but they're so small we don't feel them. Scrolling. Moonstone said, "Oh my gosh, the horse." Yes, I don't think I had the video in that video I released. I don't think the horse I'm riding was in that video, but you guys will meet him. He was a good horse. Chevy fish that you're behind is really going to hurt the next day. Yeah, so I already, I learned yesterday that the horse is comfortable to ride when it's walking, and it can walk fast and it's comfortable. But once you go from like walking fast to trot, painful, super painful. That sucked a lot. I said some things that I probably can't say on YouTube, but I guess once you get past the trot, and I forget what's after a trot. I'm not a horse person, guys. I've been around horses a lot since my friends have that farm, but I've never owned one. It never really interested me that much. I like them, but whatever's after a trot, like once they start getting faster, they smooth out as far as sitting in the saddle. And then my friend Carrie at the farm was saying, if you post, it's a term, with the horse, you basically get in a rhythm with them. But I don't know if that's like an English style. We're riding Western. But yeah, Sunday is going to suck. And they were going to do it tomorrow, which I would rather do because then I could recuperate Sunday. But since I got work, we're doing it Sunday. Monday is going to suck. I can tell my legs are going to be hurting. My butt's probably going to hurt. Yeah, so like lower body is going to be just insanely dead on Monday. Cichlid said 89 was the only scary one. Was under my car putting new headers on, and the ramp started moving and scraping up the concrete driveway. I think I missed what you said before that, but I wouldn't want to be under a car with the ramps moving. The other Tiffany said, don't forget a hat and sunscreen. We're probably going to wear helmets. I wore my dirt bike helmet. They all have like the horse helmets. I had my dirt bike helmet, and I like the dirt bike helmet. It fits great, and it's got the face protection, so that way, if for some reason something happens, I get thrown off, or I fall off, or whatever happens, protect my face. Got to protect the beard. But no, I'll probably wear a regular horse helmet tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but Sunday. Just so I'm not that guy with the dirt bike helmet in the group, so I don't embarrass my friends. But, yeah, I'm cool with wearing a motorcycle helmet. Dirt bikes can't swim, though. Well, if you go fast enough, you can go on top of water. Seen it done. There's YouTube videos of people going so fast that they hydroplane over water with a dirt bike. But it's not technically swimming, it's more of skiing. You said, Chevy Fish also said wear extra thick pants. I'm going to have jeans. And, yeah, I'm going to be tore up. I already know it. It's just one of those things where I'm going to deal with it and try to enjoy the day. Mike says Stephen will be John Candy in the great outdoors. Takes a break off the horse and the horse takes off. That's, yeah, that could be a thing. Who knows? And I don't know where we're going. I don't know if we're going down to like Southern Ohio or where we're going. Southern Ohio, I do know how, like, it's called Hocking Hills. They have like horse trails and stuff down there. I don't know. No idea. Cichlid said I go 200 miles per hour on a street bike, wide open fifth gear on a dirt bike, no biggie, scared of horses. It's the control thing, like you never know what they're going to do. Oh, apparently I'm way behind on chat because my chat just just doubled. Moonstone said at SC hint, they can't run away in a circle. Control your reins and tip the nose if you feel like he's getting away from you, and sit back, don't lean forward, center of balance. Yeah. I've been on a mechanical bull a lot because our local bar back in the day had one, and we were there like 6 nights a week. So I know about like leaning back and all that stuff. We'll just see what happens. Sam Signature Series is here from OFR. Welcome. Adele's here. Hello. Some parts of Europe will get up to 107. Yeah, we don't. I can't remember the last time we hit 107. So, I've definitely seen triple digits before. That's a thing. Jim said, so I'm guessing you're single, get married, and you'll never be bored. I always have projects going on. The problem with me is I get like gung-ho about a certain project, and I go like full out on it, and then I get bored, and then I like squirrel to a different project. That's like this car thing. This car's been torn apart in my garage for like a year and a half now. Or, yeah, I think a year and a half. And it was supposed to be like a quick, do the body work, paint it, and then be done. I did all the body work really quickly, and then it sat. I hate stupid people. Hello. I see you're here from OFR. I saw that I think it was you that upped your membership on OFR. That was awesome. Thank you for doing that for them. Everybody appreciates that. Brooke's here. Hey, Brooke. Just tuned in. Do you have the APEC leak detection kit? That's what I got. I might as well tell you guys. You're here. It's in the video. So I use, my house has an alarm on it, like a house alarm. It's got like the motion detectors and the window brake sensors and door sensors, all that stuff. It's Ring is the brand. I'm sure you've seen the Ring doorbell. I have the doorbell. I have their cameras. I have a camera. I have 3 cameras in the house, monitoring like the fish room, my family room, so I can watch the dogs when I'm at work. And I have cameras outside the house. Super awesome system. The cameras outside the house, the way you set it up is you literally look at a live view of your yard, and you can draw where you want certain things to trigger your recording. So I have it set up that if anybody walks off the sidewalk, Havana's right here, if you see her. If you walk off the sidewalk into my yard, it alerts me. The biggest thing I use for that is FedEx deliveries. So whenever a package gets delivered, I know when it gets delivered, because they just don't like ring the doorbell. They don't, they usually just drop it, scan it, and leave. I know when that happens because it alerts me when somebody walks into my yard. Now, if somebody's walking on the sidewalk, like walking their dog, I could care less. It doesn't tell me. But as soon as somebody starts walking through the yard, it's like, hey, somebody's on your property. So it does that. Same thing with my driveway. If somebody walks up my driveway, pulls into my driveway, I want to know. That's super helpful when people come to pick up fish. So if somebody pulls up, I have their fish ready. I can walk out. It's not that awkward, like I'm walking up to your house, like I'm here, I'm just ready. Anyways, they have it's a freeze slash water sensor. So it detects if something's freezing, or so if your heat like failed in your house, like it would alert you. But the main thing I got for is it detects water. And it's got 2 sensors on the bottom of it. And you just set it near your tank or wherever you want it to detect water. I think, no, that's Charlotte. You're supposed to put it by like your hot water tank or like a washer and dryer or something like that. I use it in the fish room. Well, what's nice about it is it's tied into my alarm. So when it detects water, I have 2 keypads in my house, one by like my door, one in my bedroom. That's how like you arm and disarm the alarm or panic. Well, it has a speaker and it talks to you. So like if the alarm goes off, like it's got a siren, it says like, hey, like back door alarm or like front window. Well, it'll say water leak detected, and it says where it's at, and like I just have it saying fish room. So the alarm goes off in the house. I get a text message to my phone. I get an email sent to my phone, and I think like 10 seconds later, if I don't like dismiss that alarm, they call me. If I don't respond in anything, in any way, they call my sister. And this happened, I had a water leak, and it was like the same scenario. I knew about it. I was trying to clean it up, and I didn't dismiss the alarm. Well, my sister calls me and says, hey, your alarm company just called me, like, you got a water leak. I didn't know if I needed to, like, run over there to shut water off. Because I told her, like, she's, like, the first call, like, when my alarm goes off. So if, like, a burglar alarm goes off or a fire alarm, they obviously call me first. And if they can't get hold of me, they call her. So she called me. He's like, I didn't know if I need to come turn off the water. But no. So that's why I like it. Because it's got all these redundancies. Text messages, emails, phone calls. That doesn't work. They call my family. My family calls me. It also sets off the house alarm. So, like, super know what's going on. And I talk about they have just, like, standard water leak detectors. It's the same setup. It's got 2 contacts. Water trips it. It sets off, like, an audible alarm. You hear it, but you have to be present for that. And then the other one is they have them where they can send you an email. It's, like, connected to your internet, and then it can email you, or I think they also do text messages. I just felt like the one that's built into my alarm system was the best of the best. Like, communication's instant on that. So yeah, and then I also put on, what's cool about the Ring alarm is they have, all the houses have smoke detectors, but they're not like the smart ones for alarms. Well, they have these add-ons that it's just a little round thing you put next to a smoke detector, and all it does is listen for an alarm. So if one of my smoke detectors go off, the house, like most of the houses now, they're all connected together. So if one goes off, they all go off. So I only need it by one. So if my smoke detectors go off, it sets off my house alarm. So I didn't have to buy like any additional hardware for that. So I put that in the fish room, so that way, knock on wood, I haven't had any electrical issues, but if I were, and for some reason something started smoking, it's going to set off the alarm. All the contacts will be going, but that's what I use for water. All that will be upped into the garage. I'll have, right now my fish room's narrow, so, and after learning when I have a water leak, the water actually travels a certain way through the room. It's pretty level, but there's definitely a slope. So after the first or second time I had a water leak, I learned where the water goes in the garage or in that room. And what's nice is it actually travels like to the man door into the garage. So like when I do have a leak, I open that door and I just squeegee the water into the garage to get it out. That water detector sits in that path. To up it to be even more precise, I could do a catch bin or a dam around each rack and then have an individual sensor for each rack. So if any water leaked on a rack, it hits the ground, it would have a barrier, like a foam barrier, that directs it to that sensor. And then I could have that sensor say, like, rack system 1's leaking, rack system 2's leaking, something like that. You could also do, like, they have those aluminum tin pans you could put under a tank, have the sensor in there so the water's contained into a pan, but you still want to be alerted, because if that pan only holds like 15 gallons of water and it's a 100-gallon tank, you still need to know it's leaking. So there's a lot of things you can do as far as like leak detection. But yeah, that's what I do. It's tied into my alarm system. Nick said, I can't wait for you to start the tank build. Going to be starting my 400-gallon once Doc clears me. Broke my collarbone in 4 pieces and had to get screws and plate put in. That sounds terrible. I hope it heals up good and you can start that 400-gallon build. What's funny is, I hate stupid people. Your name is causing a lot of comments to be held for review. Mods, if you see stuff like that, just approve it. I don't know if there's a mod in here right now, but I just approved a couple, and these are older. I'm still catching up, but your name is tripping out YouTube. I'm gonna skip forward a bit. AZ Fish Room. So yeah, if you guys have like a question for me, I know there's like a lot of chat between everybody in here. If you have a question for me, tag me at SC Aquatics because it highlights it. It's easier for me to read it. But AZ Fish Room tagged me. He said, if you get a Job, is that how you say that? Job valve, you won't overfill your tank. I don't know what that is, so I'll have to look it up. And I'm going to write that down because I forget everything unless I write it down. So let me write that down. Mr. Fish, sir, at SE, put algae tabs or bleach in your central air pan to keep it from clogging with all the humidity. That's a good idea, I guess. I do check it. It's got a 3/4 inch drain. And I checked it like a week or 2 ago, and it was still flowing out. Streetwise said about wonder if you should do outlets that also have USB ports. I think I covered that. AZ said, see if you need help setting up your fish room, let me know. I have set up 2 now. That's going to be the fun part, is setting it all up. That's what I enjoy. I wish it was a big, like, business, because that's what I would do for a living, is just set up fish rooms, because I don't know, doing all the PVC plumbing for like tanks and airlines, like that's all fun. I don't know, I enjoy that stuff. Apex are certainly refocused, but I love my EL for the tanks. Yeah, I know Apex is big on saltwater stuff. And Jack and Dan's comment, I hate stupid people, was held for review. That's funny. Why isn't he reading chat? Sorry, Easy, I'm behind. Catching up, I hope. Scrolling. Oh, don't jump. Sam's signature series, How to Treat Flukes. I had a huge outbreak and all meds did not work. I had to use copper. Let me see if I have this email so I can quote the person. Because I just had a customer a week or 2 ago with that exact problem. I think his name Tim? Wallace. Okay, so Wallace had flukes, and he asked me about it, if the Fritz meds worked on it. They say they work on it, and I told him, I was honest, I've never had flukes, so I don't know. I haven't personally been able to test it. I've heard it works. So this is a local customer, so he said he wanted to try it. So he bought it, and he emailed me back. He said, hello, so I'm done treating my tank and all signs of flukes are gone. My water turned hazy, but it's cleared up after a 25% water change. I had some detritus worms, which also died. My shrimp are okay. And my snails hid inside their shells for the course of the treatment, but are out now. Overall, an awesome product. So, I guess kind of first-hand experience. I had a guy locally bought it, and it worked for him. So, what medications did you use, I guess would be my question. And then I'm going to double check. Maybe. So Expel P does not treat flukes, so it's going to be Paracleanse. I just want to double check before I gave out the wrong information. There goes my alarm system saying something's in my driveway, but this time of night, it's probably a cat. So it said right on the box that Expel P does not treat flukes. So I believe it was Paracleanse that he ended up getting to work for him. Yep, Paracleanse. There's one double check. So I would try Paracleanse unless you've already tried it. Everybody's saying Cancer, Gallop. Gallop is next after Try. Okay, so Gallop is where I need to be. Jim says, make sure you have meds on hand. That was my rant. Make sure you have it before you have an issue. I guess it's like a first aid kit. Like, have a first aid kit handy, because if, like, you cut your finger off and you don't have a first aid kit, then you gotta go to the hospital or to the store, or have the Band-Aid before you cut yourself. Yep, everybody says lean back. Streetwise said, first horse ride, school trip, old horse. Girl had a crazy acting horse. They swapped us. She ended up galloping and throwing me. Turns out glass in the shoe. I guess that could drive you crazy. Go away, messages. I think I'm catching up to chat finally. Nope, just kidding. It jumps. On my screen, it gets to the bottom, and all of a sudden it shoots, and I got like 20 new chats. Tiffany said, I see there must be something interesting about the side of the tank behind you. Some fish just keep going up and down. Oh, the females? They like to do it over here by this pleco. Yeah, you guys can see it. They'll be over here and I don't know. It's also the return for the canister filter is over here, and it will. I just fed them like right before the live stream, so eventually get some of the granules, and it kind of lofts it up into the water. So I just saw that happen, but yeah, the green water's gone. It's still kind of hazy from all that stupid sand. I don't know if you guys can see this, the box filter is filling up with sand. So every time these plecos go nuts and they loft up the fine sand, which obviously you guys know by now, don't use this crap. It's actually filling up both box filters. It's pulling all that sand out of the water. So that's just showing you, because these are just air driven. There's not a whole lot of power, so these things are slowly filling up. So I need to drain that sand out, but the box filters are filling up with sand. I just actually noticed that today. Moonstone says horses do not have ESP the way folks hope. You have to teach them. Yeah, that was the thing. Like, my friends have had horses for many years, and I've been around them for many years. But being on one and doing commands, like, verbal commands, like, they just know it. Like, Charlotte knows, like, some hand signals because she's deaf. But, man, like, a horse, like, they know what you're doing. Like, as long as they're trained right, but, like, the way you push on their sides with your boots, or you say something, or the way you control the reins, like, it's impressive at how much they know as far as like commands and stuff. Still, it's not a hobby I want to get into because I see how much money goes into it. And if my friends from the White Oaks, or not from White Oaks Stables watching, my buddy Josh, he'll probably be like, yeah, because it's his wife's hobby and he's just along for the ride, pun intended, I guess. But he does a lot of work there on the farm and stuff, but a lot of money goes into horses, a ton of money. Obviously buying the horse, but then feeding it, and then vet bills, and then you gotta have a truck and a trailer and all the tack, and it'd be like, I don't know, way more expensive than my hobby. I'm trying to like scroll through as quickly as possible. I'm just going to go for like the tagged chats. Streetwise says you have been thorough. See, the problem with this now is, I'm guessing you're talking about the tank build. I don't know. I'm so far behind. But I saw on the my sub count, I'm like 60. It was like 66 subs away from 2,000. Like this, like 1,000 to 2,000 has really gone quick. So 66 away from that, I was like, that's pretty sweet. I don't know. I guess the next goal will be 3,000 and 4,000 at that point. But we're almost to 2,000 subs. Like, super pumped about that. Jim said, "Gotta run. Thanks for the stream. Have a great weekend, everybody." See you, Jim. Same to you. Moonstone, I made you a mod. FYI, you said click me in. Sure. William said, at SC, any news of the overflow projects, the printouts you did way before? Where did I end up on that? So I'm not using them right now. I printed a few different versions. I was trying to go really small. I was like, man, it'd be super sweet to keep these things like super tiny, like on a tank. They would work with like a drip system, but I was trying to figure out how small could I go with doing like higher flow. And then I squirreled and started some other project. I don't even know what happened after that. So I do have some overflows printed off. I don't know if that's like when OFR stuff happened. Like, I think that was probably before I even did the OFR stands, let alone like the Bellagio stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I know with the fish room, every tank's going to be drilled. I won't be doing overflows, like external overflows. I'll be doing like full drilled tanks, because that's just like tried and true. don't have to worry about it, basically. But that might be like a side project. You know, that might be something I do like in my house or something. I don't know. Oh, wait, I got a super chat. Kathy Murphy, $7. Thank you so much. Appreciate that a lot. Sorry, I'm just now getting to it. I don't know. There's maybe 15 minutes ago, something like that, 10 minutes ago. Thank you so much. So, shameless plug. I have super chats available and memberships now. And I don't know how I got memberships, so I even re-looked it up. YouTube memberships are supposed to start at 30,000 subscribers. I thought maybe they changed it, so I re-looked it up to make sure, and it still says 30,000 subs. So maybe they changed it, but it said I could have it on my channel, so I said, why not? And I actually have members already, so it's kind of cool. Memberships, $5 a month. It's like the starting rate, basically. Content is basically all my videos that I'm doing from here on out get uploaded members only, and they can comment on it. And then I have changed, like the Bellagio video, I uploaded members, and then I end up changing the editing on it. And then I'll upload everything that goes to members, unless it's like something that's definitely not YouTube appropriate. Goes to members, and then if it's like a main video, they get to watch it first, and then days or a week, whatever later, it goes to the main channel. I don't guarantee anything on members because I don't know, like, I'm so random. I don't know when I'm doing something that's going to be cool. But I appreciate it. So I just want to let you guys know. Appreciate you guys. Kathy didn't even say nothing. She just donated $7. I appreciate that. Scrolling. Sorry it was delayed on me getting to that, but... Oh, wait. Kathy said, my message didn't come through with the super chat. I was asking what we were doing with the night off from OFR. So tonight, I'm just hanging out with you guys. I saw LRB went live, and assuming some of you guys are switching over there, I'm going to keep going until I catch up. I'm feeling good tonight. Maybe I'm feeling a little relaxed. I'm not driving to Cleveland or anything right now. But, yeah, so that's what I'm doing tonight. And then tomorrow night, I want to try to relax as much as possible before I know I go do some medieval jousting on a horse. But yeah, that's what I'm doing my night off. John said a Job, am I saying that right? Job valve is the same as a toilet sump float. If you want to control pumps or overflow alarms digitally, you get a float switch or two for backup. Yeah, so I looked into running a redundant float switch. I found them on eBay where it's just a simple float switch. It just passes current through. Running one that goes up and then one that's basically flipped, so it can determine like a maximum minimum level, right? So like maximum, or have it set to where like a minimum level hits. Running that in the redundant series. It's going to be about redundancy. I want it bulletproof as much as possible. That's why I end up not doing the 2,000 gallon tank from OFR. I decided to build my own. Yeah, so I can like customize it and make it as strong as possible. Redundancy. I got my Havana right here. She wants some attention, which means Charlotte's usually not too far away. But yeah, they I found actually one of my wholesalers sells a automatic top-off kit that's for like running sumps. So I'm probably going to do something like that. And in water changes right now, the way they are, it's like a big water change. Oh, sorry, I hit the table. One big water change at once. So all the tanks, when I do a water change, it's like anywhere from 30% to 50%. So like 20 gallon tanks get a 50% water change. 29 gallons get roughly like a 33%, like a third-ish water change. The flow-through rack system, since all those tanks aren't covered, they have so much evaporation, I just do water top-offs. And that's like every 4 days, I probably add like, I don't know, 10 gallons of water or something like that. So they're just constantly in new water. And then the rack system 1, basically it's just got some shrimp and some killifish. And then my 1 pea puffer, those are just basically water top off from evaporation, and those pretty much all have lids. So it's kind of like once a month I top off water. They got plants, you know, it's not because of nitrates, it's just topping off water due to level. But the garage, I think I'm going to go to, I would like to do small water changes like 3 times a day. So I'm thinking of using like 1/4-inch water line, no drip emitters or anything like that, that can clog, just straight 1/4-inch line, and having it on a pressurized pump that is Wi-Fi controlled, so I can set a schedule to where the pump kicks on, pressurizes all the water lines, it shoots water into each tank, and then I can control how long it's on. So let's say with the pressurized water, it takes it 30 seconds to do, I don't know, a gallon or something. Like, all right, I want to add a gallon of water to each tank 3 times a day. I can set my Wi-Fi switches to that schedule. Turn on for 30 seconds, turn off, and then do that 3 times a day. So I want to do something like that. I don't really want to do like a drip system. And then I want to definitely do multiple control valves so I can dial in certain tanks or certain racks. So let's say like the 2,000 gallon, that water is going to be so 2,000 plus, because I don't know the official volume yet until I get done tinkering with the design. But 2,000 plus, that won't need water changes nearly as often as like the 20 gallons. Because it's such a huge volume, dilution is the solution. I think LRB says that a lot. You know, if it became like super heavily stocked, it's going to be a planted tank. So like monster fish keepers, they do heavy water changes because they typically don't have any plants in their tanks, because these monster fish would like eat them or destroy them. Well, being that I'm doing a community tank of smaller fish, like, you know, I've mentioned like plecos or corridoras or rainbow fish, danios, rasboras, everything like that. It's going to be planted, and really water top off is going to be due to like evaporation, or maybe to replenish minerals for plants and stuff like that. But it's going to be probably fertilized to take care of that aspect. But that's just part of the design, and I'll probably do another CAD drawing and show you guys what I'm thinking, and like that way you can see what's going on up here, and then I get my input and change things. But I already found 120 volt or 12 volt, depending on how I want to go. 120 volt or 110 volt be easiest. Control valves that are normally closed, so if they don't have any power, they're shut down, and then you have to turn them on to open the valves. And I thought about doing that on each rack, so I can target, like, I want rack 1. I can even do rows, like row 1, rack 1. I want 3 times a day, but, you know, rack 2 doesn't have as much fish. I'm going to do that once a day or something like that. So I want to be able to really fine-tune how that goes. Or if I have an issue, which I had an issue in one of my tanks out in the fish room earlier this week, I noticed I had 2 dead guppies. I was like, this has been a rock solid tank. Why do I have 2 dead guppies? So immediately I get out my test strips, and I test it, and my nitrates were like 60 parts per million. I'm like, that's extremely high. I need to change this water immediately. So I did, over about the course of 2 hours, I did 33% water changes, and then Like an hour later, I did like a 50% water change, and that's all it was. I lost 2 fish because the nitrates skyrocketed. Luckily, I caught it. I knew there was something wrong because there shouldn't be any dead fish out there. All the fish that are in my fish room have been there for months. There's nothing new been added. Everything that's newer has been bred out in that room, so it's been rock steady or stable. But the thing was, that's on its way to a crash. That's a way you can crash a tank, is that those 2 dead fish died. Dead fish, when they start decomposing, can cause an ammonia spike. You already got a ton of nitrates in the water, so the fish are stressed about that. You get an ammonia spike. That's not good for the fish. Since they're already stressed because of the nitrates, that ammonia spike kills more, and then you have even bigger ammonia spike, and then you crash. So I could have lost, I mean, there's probably 200 guppies in that tank right now. There's a ton. And, 2 fish dying could have, it's not just 2 fish, it's 2 fish, but my nitrates were already high. And that was my fault, because going to like OFR, typically I do water changes on Sundays. Now that I'm not bringing in outside fish, I'm not changing water like every single day like I was. They're all been like super healthy and stable, so now I just been doing like every Sunday, or Sunday and like a Thursday. But I was skipping because I was at OFR and I just didn't think about it, or I got home and I'm like, oh, we'll do it tomorrow, and then I forget about it. I'll do it tomorrow, and then my nitrate spiked on one of the tanks, which was the heaviest stock tank out there, is the guppy tank, and luckily I only lost 2 fish, but now I know that I need to do better about keeping my eyes, especially on that tank, because it is so heavily stocked. Dude, scrolling. I'm at the bottom, but I know it's going to jump again. It's like, yeah, I don't. Where am I? I went to the bottom on accident somehow. Let me back up a bit. We still got 30 people here. I know if any of you guys are LRB fans, don't let me hold you back from going over to his channel. I'm usually really tired on Fridays, and I'm usually done at 9:30, and I'm usually with the dogs. I'm doing pretty good right now, so that's why I'm still going. I also feel like I need to catch up and like answer any questions. Mr. Fish Sir said, I have a friend that has horses, and they see a dentist more often than I do. There's like some crazy horse people out there that are like super on top of that kind of stuff. Chevy Fish said, regarding horses, be careful on pavement with a horse that has shoes on, especially new ones. They have a tendency to slip. Definitely makes sense. Mike said, just got LRB's notification. Scrolling. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to mention. So I got the top 10 video coming, the breeding, the Barbados Corys. That's going to be like an educational video, so I got to wait until I get some more data. Educational based off of my experience. I'm sure there's a ton more people smarter at breeding fish than I am, but if I can do it, I know somebody else can do it, because I'm not the best by any means at this stuff. So it's going to be educational in the fact that this is what I did and it worked, but I can't do any kind of video release or give out my opinion or my experiences until I can actually hatch some babies and grow them up. So it's going to be a little while, because they could even, A, I don't know if they're going to hatch, and B, they could hatch and then die like 3 days later. But the rainbow fish, so these guys, I do have fry and they are growing. Mike's going to come and check them out tomorrow because these guys came from Mike. And yeah, so I'm growing some rainbow fry, so that's sweet. They are tiny. When he said they're tiny, they are tiny. I can't believe how tiny those things are. One word of wisdom. This is John at Streetlight says, at one word of wisdom, I must say before you get into that, you should be aware of controlling low voltage devices with digital relays. For these uses mechanical relayed outlets. And I guess I should talk about like the electrical part of the build. I'll probably show you guys like progress, but I'm not going to tell you how I do the actual electrical wiring, mainly because of like being sued. I would not want somebody to like watch me and then go like try to like wire up something and then like catch their house on fire. So I won't be showing like that stuff. I'll probably show you like, hey, I'm putting outlets here, and then like cut video like, hey, the outlets are in. I do have experience with like wiring like house stuff. I'm not certified. I do have a certification through Siemens, which is an electrical company, but it's not for like doing like this stuff. I'm very experienced with like automotive electrical systems. Obviously, I'm a mechanic, but I actually wired up one of my friends. Basically built a cabin, like an off-grid cabin, and I did the whole electrical from generator to like his solar system to every single outlet in his house. And that all started back in high school. I took an electrical class back in high school and learned all that stuff. And then growing up, anytime my dad did electrical stuff, he showed me like, this is how you do this is how you do that. So pretty much all my general knowledge came from just growing up and my dad teaching me like as he fixed stuff, whether it was like hot water tank or furnace or car stuff, tractor stuff, because we did have 15 acres growing up. My parents sold it a few years ago and they bought a house down in Florida with the money from that. But like I grew up with 15 acres. Here's a little backstory. I bought my first car when I was like, how old was I? 10 or 12? Bought my first car. So I wanted a four-wheeler, and my mom wasn't too happy about me wanting to buy a four-wheeler. I was saving up money because, wow. So that's on a Wi-Fi switch, so that means it's 10 o'clock because all the lights turn off at 10 throughout my whole house. I think my computer screens light me up good enough. Let me add like another white screen somehow. There, I think that, does that help? I think that helps. So I wanted a four-wheeler. My mom was afraid that I would roll it and like kill myself. So my dad talked her into let me buy a Suzuki Samurai. If anybody knows what that is, you're gonna be like, that's sweet. If you don't know what it is, think of it like a Jeep Wrangler, but smaller. These things were awesome off-road machines. Super tiny, super lightweight, four-wheel drive, super underpowered. But I bought one. It had a spun rod bearing, so the engine was broken. And when I was like 12 years old, I helped my dad pull the engine out in a barn that was not insulated, not heated, no electricity, in the middle of winter. We used a come along to the rafter, and we literally had an oil lamp as a light, because this was like before we had like sweet flashlights that we had now. So we had an oil lamp that was sitting on the gravel that we used to light up the barn. It was the middle of winter, so the door was shut. no windows, so it was dark. And we pulled the engine out using a come along to the rafter, and put new like rod bearings or main bearings in it. Put it back together, and I had that car for like, oh man, like 15 years or something. So I never had it as like an actual driving car. So I drove it around the farm, and it was a manual. So I learned to drive a manual when I was 10 years old or however old I was. So I learned to drive a manual, drive a car. So when it came to be 16 and I took my driver's license test, aced it. Like here in Ohio, you had to have like so many hours with an instructor, and like they don't even do like parallel parking or anything like that. They have like this Y, like you pull in and you got like back out like in a Y. Knocked that out in like 10 minutes, and the instructor was like, "I've never had anybody knock it out so quickly." She's like, "You're really good." I'm like, "Well, I've been driving for 6 years, just not on the road legally." I was very comfortable with that. So we ended up doing parallel parking. She's like, "We don't do this anymore. Like, this is like old. Might as well do it. We got nothing else to do. You already passed everything you need to." Did parallel parking like no issue. So then she ended up setting up a slalom, and I did that, and that was actually fun. So I'm like zigzagging through cones, and I had to do it backwards. No problems with that at all. Aced the driving test. But yeah, from the farm. I guess I'm getting sidetracked again, guys, but that was, I learned a lot out there, you know, shooting guns and fishing. My dad dug a pond, so it was just a field when we got it. He put a acre-sized pond. We stocked it with like bass and bluegill and catfish, and go fishing there. Walk out on it in the winter. Excuse me. Set fireworks off, like all sorts of stuff. Bonfires. It was fun. I saw Chevy fish that hopefully the Raptor wasn't running. It was actually a new pole barn. We built the pole barn. It was just a field when we bought that. Well, my parents bought that land. It's 15 acres, and like 10 of it was field and 5 was woods. But yeah, it was fun. But that's where I learned like my mechanical abilities. Havana just wants, now that I say her name, she just wants attention. Well, she probably wants to go outside. She's pretty smart with words. She hears the word go, and it could be like, do you want to go outside? Do you want to go to bed? Do you want to go for a car ride? Do you want to go see Grammy? And like, so anytime the word go is said, no matter who says it, she pops up like listening. Oh, here she comes. She's coming. Hey, babes. Ow. She's back in the lap. Sounds like a well-rounded childhood. Yeah, I mean, learned a lot, did a lot. And that's, I mean, I fixed everything myself. I mean, I think that's like the best, is not relying on somebody else to have to do something for you. That's like my mindset. Like my hot water tank broke when I first moved in this house. You know, I was able to take the old one out and put the new one in myself and do all the plumbing, and it's got a gas pipe, so I redid that. Building a shed, that's another thing I want to do, and I kind of want to put it on the channel, is building a shed. You know, that's something I can do, and I can do the shingle roofs, because that pole barn, I was little when my dad built that pole barn, but I remember being up there when he had all of his buddies up there, and they did all that themselves. They did all the posts, holes, concrete for that. They did all the rafters, they did all the roofing and the shingles and the siding. And then eventually they poured like a quarter of the inside with concrete, and that was like storage. But like where the tractor and like vehicle and stuff would like sit in the pole barn, it was still a gravel floor. Eventually they were going to do concrete, but they never did. But Winston said that it was an old school car. It was awesome. Like that was, I did a lot more stuff in that car I probably shouldn't have. Like being 16, like as soon as it snowed, like I have always had like little Japanese cars. I had like Honda Civics and Acuras and stuff like that. I was real into tuning in high school. Was it my junior year? I can't remember. My junior year, my senior year, I had a Civic that I actually made my own turbo kit for. Probably most of you don't even know what the heck I'm talking about. But basically, I made the car for a Civic like twice as fast as it should have been. And I made that all in the driveway. And it was, you know, back then it was super awesome. And it wasn't unheard of, but it was less common than it is these days. But, so I always had that like turbo Civic or whatever. And then, but as soon as winter came and it snowed, I was in that Suzuki Samurai with all my buddies. We'd go find parking lots and we would hook up a rope to it and pull a sled behind it and go 50 miles per hour through a parking lot. And you go and you turn real hard so it would slingshot the sled way out. It was a long rope, so like I wasn't going to run over anybody. So before you say anything, like nobody got hurt. But you go and this sled would go slingshotting like super fast around, and like you take them, hit them into like snow banks and stuff. And four-wheel drive, that thing never got stuck, not once. It's so light, and with four-wheel drive it just went everywhere. But I always left it like in two-wheel drive, and like the more it snowed, the more fun we had. We go out and like nobody would be on the roads, and we'd be out like drifting it around through the intersections, and it was fun. It was a little fun car. I kind of wish I still had it. My dad sold it like years ago. It'd be a fun project these days. Other Tiffany said, with all the mechanical and electrical experience and all the projects you could do, whatever made you decide to have little swimmy things to keep in boxes of water? So I used to have snakes. I had ball pythons. I had a ball python room. I was getting into breeding them. I had a girlfriend that was moving in at the time, and she was bringing her daughter, a dog, and a cat. I was like, this is going to be too much stuff. So I ended up selling all the ball python stuff off. I was left with a 75-gallon fish tank, which is the one I still have. I had 2 ball pythons in that tank. It was 2 I was like keeping together to breed. Sold them. So then I had a 75-gallon fish tank. I was like, well, I got the tank. I might as well put fish in it, right? So I went to the fish store. I was like, man, like I want something colorful and cool. And this was before I knew, like, I wasn't a hobbyist. I was just a person wanting some fish. I ended up with electric blue Acara. Loved them. I was like, man, these things are awesome. I started with like 2 of them. And I went back. I'm like, I want some more. And then I think I ended up getting like 2 polar blue convicts. Those were cool. And I had those forever. I ended up... what did I end up doing with those? I rehomed them to somebody. I had them forever, but I rehomed them. And I wanted to do... I somehow came across a waterfall, a sand waterfall on YouTube. It must have been like a suggested video, because I wasn't searching for it. I just somehow came across my feed. I was like, what is that? I saw this sand waterfall, and I was like, that is awesome. I remember sending it to my friends like, dude, I kept calling it underwater waterfall, is how I kept saying it. Instead of saying like sand waterfall, I'm like, it's a waterfall underwater. And then I started getting into like looking into these, and I saw some like really awesome scaped tanks that had like creeks almost. The sand was still going down, but it was kind of like curving through. I'm like, how are they doing this? So then like I read about it, and like the easiest one I saw was a lift tube. I'm like, I want to build that. So I built it, and I'm like, all right. So I learned about cutting foam out to make like fake rock, and then taking concrete and brushing. I keep getting all these messages. Stay away. About taking the concrete and you brush it on, and that's how you get the fake rock. So I did that. I'm like, and everybody, like my family was like, man, that's super awesome. So that's what got me into it. So, well, that didn't really get me into like all the tanks. That got me into starting to get into the hobby. Um, so I had that, and then what kind of got me a little bit further along is somehow I came across shrimp, and I saw red cherry shrimp. I thought those were super awesome. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know shrimp keeping was a thing. I didn't even know. I've never even seen them before. Somehow got a video of that. I think it must. I'm guessing it was probably Flip Aquatics was a suggested video. Like, those are awesome. So I ordered like 10 of them, put them in a tank, and I did like a lava rock pile, and then they exploded. I'm like, these are awesome. And then I wanted more of them. And I wanted more of them. And I wanted more tanks. So I started getting that multi-tank syndrome a little bit. And then I got onto Lucas Brett's, started watching him. And I was like, man, like, I really want to keep that fish, or I want to keep that shrimp. I'm like, I need more tanks to do this. And then I had my heart issue. So like 2 years, was it 2 years ago? Was this 2020? So Valentine's Day 2018, I woke up and like I thought I was having like a heart attack. Like, I freaked out, and I think honestly what it was a heart murmur. Like, I was skipping a beat, and I thought I was having a heart attack, so it gave me a panic attack, which I never had before, which made everything worse. So the official diagnosis was what's it called? Wow, I can't even think of what it's called now. It's basically where your heart has like a misfire, and then it goes into like a super fast beat. But on February 14th, I went to work because I was freaking out here when I woke up. I was like, oh my God, something's wrong. Went to work, and I was like, there's something wrong with my heart. Like, I can feel it. And I didn't know what a panic attack was, but I know now that I've had them, that I was having a panic attack. So I went to the clinic, which is like right up the road from my work. So I check in. They're like, why are you here? I'm like, yeah, I just feel like there's something wrong. I just want to be checked out, just make sure I'm good, like my blood pressure is good or whatever. And they, the nurse, like, there's like a doctor and there's a nurse. Well, the nurse sees you first, and she took my heart rate and my blood pressure, and she walks out of the room, and then doctor comes right in, and she takes my heart rate, and she's like, all right, so we called 911. And I was like, what? You called 911? Why? She said, your heart rate's, I was at 220 beats a minute. 220. Like, resting's, depending on the person, it's like 60 to 80 or whatever. But I was at 220 beats a minute. So we called 911. So this clinic, which is actually right down, it's a block from my house, is like in the same parking lot as the fire station, which is also blocked from my house. So the ambulance basically backed out of the fire station and like went 50 yards, and they're there. So now all these paramedics come into this like minute clinic. They come in, they hook up their heart machines. So I got all these little pads on me, and they're like, they're like, bear down, like try to like, almost hold your breath or whatever. It's not doing well. I'm in a full blown panic attack at this point. They put me on a stretcher. I'm like, great, like, I'm freaking out. So I'm in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, and they're like, all right, we're giving you this drug. They had an IV in me, and this drug or whatever stops your heart. He said it's going to stop your heart, and he's like, you're going to feel it. And then they're like, 3 seconds later, your heart starts again. We're trying to reset your heart rate. So they do that, and it's not like your heart just stops and you're just like sitting there. Like, it's painful, super painful. And to describe it, like, it's not your chest, or at least for me, it wasn't my chest, it was my back. So it felt like somebody dropped a car on my back. Like, I don't know, like the pain wasn't right here where you think it would be, it was my back. I was like it's so painful, like you couldn't even talk. And then like 3 seconds later, it's like, oh, like what happened? Like it was fine. Well, they did that, and then my heart rate was back to 220 or at whatever point it was at that point. So then they did it a second time. The second time still hurt just like the first time. That didn't work. So then they actually electrocuted me. So when I was telling the story, I told people I got paddled. Like, you know, when you see like where they go clear. Well, it's not like that. They put these pads. How was it? Like one was here and the other was on my other side. So basically, electricity crosses your heart, and that's how they shocked me. So they ended up shocking me, and that ended up working. It reset my heart, and I got to the ER. I went straight into like the emergency room, like where you see on TV, like all the TV shows where it's like a big room and there's like the one bed in the middle. Went into there. At this point, I don't know if they gave me a sedative. I think they must have gotten me a sedative because I honestly think halfway through all this, they realized I was having a panic attack because I think they took like a blood sample or like blood sugar and they probably saw something in it because I remember one of the guys in the ambulance showing like the chief guy, like I could tell like the one guy was like the head guy, showing him like a result. But I think they gave me a sedative because I just remember once I got into the ER, I was like out of it. I was like super loopy. I remember laying in the ER, I got my phone out and I was texting my family like, I'm in the ER, I'm okay or something. But I remember like later that day, I once I was coherent, looking at like I misspelled everything. Um, they put me in the ER. A doctor looked at me for like 10 seconds, and then they moved me out into like the side of the ER where it's like all the like regular beds with like the curtains around it. Like you're not in a room, you're still like in the ER. So I'm laying there. I'm like super tired at this point, and all of a sudden my sister walks in, and it surprised me. I'm like, I didn't like she didn't say she was coming. I didn't ask her to come. And then I realized I didn't even tell her where I was because I'm in Columbus. There's I don't know 5 hospitals here. She called. I must have said what system I was in, and the system I'm in, they have like 3 different hospitals. So she called to find out which hospital I was at. She's a school teacher, and this was the middle of the day or in the morning. She left her classroom. Like obviously she had some teacher come in for her, but she left school, found out what hospital I was at, and then came. My parents were in Florida. They're like they're snowbirds. They go down there in the winter, so they were still down there on Valentine's Day. So my sister came to the hospital. I was there for a couple hours, and then I got discharged. My sister drove me home, and then what was worse is that my mom's side of the family has a heart defect, and I don't know the term for it, but it's basically the heart muscle is too thin, and you basically go into heart failure. And my grandpa had it, my uncle had it, my mom has it. My uncle died from it. My grandpa died from it. My mom, knock on wood, has recovered from it, but you always have that issue. My cousin, who is like a year or two older than me, has it, and she's actually on a heart transplant wait list, and she's been on it for a long time now. So I think that's what got me going that day, was thinking of like, oh, I got the family heart defect gene, like I'm dying or something. I think that's what gave me the panic attack. Well, after that day, I always thought I had anxiety. Well, after that day, the anxiety was real. So anything that happened to me, I thought I was having a heart issue. I stopped drinking like caffeine completely. I used to have like energy drinks, not like every day, but like, maybe once a week I have an energy drink. I drink coffee all the time. I went to straight like drinking 3 gallons of water a day, like super freaking out. Well, they had at the hospital they did like an ultrasound or whatever, my heart and EKG, all that stuff, and everything checked out fine. But I don't know. I kept having anxiety about it, and it was actually giving me full blown anxiety attacks where I went back to work I think it was like maybe like 2 days later, or maybe I went back to work the next day. I forget. Got to work and immediately had an anxiety attack, and I just walked out. I was like, I gotta go, and I had like the fight or flight like response, and mine was flight. Like I had to get out of the situation, so I remember just leaving work, going home, and panicking, and like I dealt with that for a while, and what turned out was after seeing the cardiologist when I was at the ER, they automatically put you on this like heart med, and it's the first time first time I've ever been allergic to a medication. It turns out I was allergic to it. I didn't know it, and because they always ask you, are you allergic? I'm like, no, I've never been allergic to anything. Well, I was allergic to this med because after like 2 weeks, everything was getting worse and worse. The anxiety attacks were every single day, and so I started reading up on the meds and like like WebMD or whatever, and it will list like common side effects. I'm like, well, I have that one, and I have that one, and I have that one. So I called the cardiologist. I'm like, I think I'm allergic to this because like I'm having all these issues, and like this is listed as like one thing. So they took me off it, and then it was like way better. I still had like panic attacks for a while, and then every once in a while it could be like for a week straight, and then goes away. It could be like one time every 6 months or a year. I get the AFib or whatever it's called, where you get the like incorrect heart pattern. I'm terrible with technical terms. My parents bought me like a blood pressure checker. My blood pressure is actually always really good, like pretty spot on. But it also checks for arrhythmic issues, and like I'll get that. Like if you guys ever had it, like sometimes you can feel it in your neck or in your chest, and like I can tell when I have it, and that happens randomly, maybe every 6 months or a year. It's been a long time since it's happened. The last time it happened, I had it like every day for a week, so that sucked because that triggers anxiety. But the only medication, like I got off that heart thing. I was on a anxiety med, and actually the last time I went to the doctor like 2 months ago, I told him I want to start getting off of the anxiety med. So I think like mentally, like I've now worked through like all the anxiety issues, and I'm on half dose now, so I'm stepping down because the problem with this anxiety med I'm on is I actually have withdrawal if I don't take it. So I can go 24 hours, like if I take it every morning before I go to work. If I forget it the next day, I'm fine, but that second day, I get super dizzy and sick. And I don't want that. I don't want to be dependent on it. So I told my doctor, I was like, I want to start getting off of this. So we cut my dosing back to half strength, and we're doing that for 2 months. I'm on the second month, and then we're going to cut that in half. Because I have to basically like wean myself off, because I can't just cold turkey it, because then I get like withdrawal and I get super sick and dizzy. So I'm like just like, and that was my decision. Like I told him, I was like, I want to get off this. Like, let's start cutting it down and down. So once this month or this 30-day prescription runs out, I'm gonna have them cut that in half, and then that's it. So I've gone up like 3 steps in like strength. I'm on the mid one, so the next refill I'm going to do at the low level, and then hopefully I can just stop, and any anxiety from now on is just mental, and I can just power through that. But I haven't read any of the chat during that rant. But so that got started because we were talking about how I got into tanks. So that happened, and there was something about my shrimp tanks that really like helped me with my anxiety. So I really liked my shrimp tanks. I thought it was like calming, and so I wanted more of them. So that's when my fish room happened. So that's how I ended up going from like 2 or 3 fish tanks to now I'm up to like 55, I think, something like that. So it was all anxiety. That's how I got the fish room. Most of my hobby was always automotive related, building cars. That's why the Civic's been in the garage for 2 years. I've always built cars and I've always raced cars. I race. It's called road racing. If you don't know what that is, some people, like, when they hear road racing, they think of like street racing. Road racing is track where you, like, left turns and right turns and hills. That's road racing. Like NASCAR is like the big circle. It's not that. It's like a racetrack. My home track is called Mid Ohio. It's just north of here. But there's a lot of racetracks all over the world. F1 cars, if you guys know what that is, or Indy cars, that's road racing. Um, but that's what I'm into. I'm into road racing. I used to road race. I had a newer Honda Civic years ago. I used to road race, and a BMW. I used to work for BMW. I leased a car. I used to road race that. I wanted to get back into it, and so I bought this Civic. It's an older Civic, like a '96, I think. And I was going to gut it, put a roll cage in it, change the engine out, like all that stuff. So that was my project. And then, like, the heart thing happened, and then, like, the fish tank thing was helping me. So it turned into Civic was no longer going to be a race car. It was going to be like a daily driver, so I don't drive my truck every day. And then I got back into it. I want to make it a race car. And then it sat in the garage for 2 years now. But I've been doing fish things. I do want to get back into it because I do want to, like, be able to take a break from fish things all the time, doing that all the time. The car thing gets expensive with doing it. Every time I go racing, it's a few $100 between the day pass at the racetrack and fuel and, buying tires. I don't go through tires a lot because the car is not that fast to, like, eat up tires. It's the initial cost of buying, like, good tires to begin with, but tires and brakes and stuff like that. So it's an expensive hobby. That's why the car's been sitting, because I've been putting all my money into the fish hobby. But I would like to get back into it. Yeah, so fish hobby. That's how I got into so many tanks, was the anxiety, basically. Where's my mouse? I think my mouse died. I think my battery finally died in my mouse. Oh, did a dog unplug this? That could be. Yep. Dog unplugged the Wi-Fi dongle for the mouse and keyboard. I was like, the keyboard doesn't work. Chevy Fish says Italy does a lot of road racing. Yeah, road racing is, like, super popular overseas. If you think of, like, motorcycle racing, like, not drag racing, there's a lot of, like, MotoGP. I've been to a lot of MotoGP races at Indianapolis. Yeah, that's another hobby of mine that I love to do. But car stuff it's a terrible hobby to get into for the fact that pretty much anytime you put money into a car hobby, you never get anywhere close to that back out. Fish hobby, you can make money off of a fish hobby. Car stuff, you're not making it off of a hobby unless you're building stuff for other people. But yeah. Sam Signature Series says, my whole family race, very spendy. We did dirt, modified and stock. Okay, yeah, so that's another type of racing. I've been to one dirt race, like, a long, long time ago. In Columbus, it's not, like, super popular. It's more of, like, outside of Columbus. But I think one of my coworkers might have been into that. I think he was at a dirt race, like, last weekend. I think I saw on his, like, one of his Facebook posts. I used to be in drag racing in high school. That was the thing. We all drag raced and street raced back then. There's a couple drag strips not too far, like within an hour drive time. We used to it used to be the thing in high school. Like Friday, as we get out of school, we would all go eat dinner and then go to the drag strip. We go drag racing, and then after drag racing, we go out and street race or whatever. It was like the thing to do back then. But I got in trouble with that, with the law. Um, and that ended the street racing for me. I was done after that. I got into sport bikes for like 5 or 6 years. I bought a brand new Honda CBR sport bike. I shouldn't have bought one. I was like 19, and a good salesman talked me into it. And that was a financial mistake because I bought it with a credit card. Never had a credit card. My first credit card was buying a motorcycle on a credit card. You can imagine the interest on that. And the way they sold me, I was in college. Maybe I was 18. Was I 18? I was 18 or 19. My coworker bought this brand new, like, it's called ZX10R. It's a liter bike. It's a big bike, like a fast bike. Back then it was super fast. He needed somebody to go with him to pick it up so he could ride it home. And as he's in there like finalizing the paperwork, his salesman's like, "Oh, do you want to buy a bike?" It's like, "No." I was like, "Oh, I'd love one." And I was a big Honda guy. He's like, "Well, which one would you want?" I'm like, "It's going to be either that one or that Honda." And he's like, "Well, let's run your credit and see if you can afford one." I'm like, "Nah, I can't afford one of these. Like, I'm in college. I work 20 hours a week." So he comes back. He's like, "Oh, you can get that Honda that you like for like $110 a month." Well, dumb me was like, $110. That's nothing. Like, I can afford that. I'm only working 20 hours a week, but I can afford that. So I bought it, and it was, I guess they're no longer in business, so I guess I can talk about this. The guy lied on my application. So he's like, "I need you to fill out this application for this credit." And he's like, "I'll help you with it." So, I'm filling out my name, and it's like, current job. I think I was working at like Bob Evans or something, or some other restaurant. And I was like, Bob Evans, and like annual salary. I'm like, I don't know what annual salary is. I go and I work and I get $100 paycheck or whatever. He's like, "Oh, you make like 60 grand a year, don't you?" I'm like, he's like, "You make like 60 grand a year." I'm like, "I make 60 grand a year," like, so he was basically telling me what to write to get me approved. So he got me approved for this financial credit card through whoever they use, and it was 12%, I think, interest rate. What I didn't know was after, and let me tell you, when you have a brand new motorcycle, I think like tax and title and everything, it was, I don't know, 10 grand, 11 grand, whatever it was. Well, 11 grand, when you're only paying $110, which is the minimum payment a month, takes you like 10 years to pay off, it seems like. But I was like, whatever, $100 a month, no biggie. Mistake number one was, as soon as I go home, I'm like, I need to get insurance for this thing, right? Insurance for like an 18-year-old for a brand new sport bike was $400 a month. Yeah, no exaggeration. It was like $400 a month. I was like, "Oh, I can't afford that. Like, what do I do?" Luckily, knock on wood, this bank that gave me the money, because it was a credit card, never required proof of insurance. So for the first like 2 years, I only had liability only on it. I never had full coverage because I couldn't afford it. And like if it was through a different manufacturer, like I lease my truck, they require proof of insurance, and then they every like month or every few months they call to make sure you still have your full coverage. They never did that with the bike, luckily, because it was like $400. So that was mistake one. Mistake number two, well, I guess really financing it was a mistake, but then I had to figure out, what am I going to do with this motorcycle that I don't want to tell my parents I just bought? So I took the motorcycle to my sister's house, and I said, "Hey, I need to store this in your garage because I don't want to tell mom and dad I bought a motorcycle." So that's what I did. I hid it at my sister's house. I ended up telling my mom. shortly after that, I ended up buying a motorcycle, and I didn't want to tell my dad, and then eventually he found out. So eventually I ended up keeping it at my parents' house because I was still living there. The other mistake was I bought this thing like January 3rd in Ohio. I bought a sport bike. Like, not even just a motorcycle, a sport bike. Which is a bike I never even rode in the rain if I didn't have to. And what do you want to do in the middle of January when it's like -10 and snowing? And you buy a brand new motorcycle, you want to ride it. So I was riding this thing with no experience. I ridden dirt bikes, like I knew how to ride, but no like motorcycle experience. In the middle of winter, wind chills on a bike is like, if it's like 30 degrees out, it feels like 0. So I was wearing like multiple sweatshirts and like trying to bundle up. I could ride for about 10 minutes and then I was literally frozen and I had to put it back. So that's what I did. I ended up keeping that bike for like 5 or 6 years and I ended up selling it. It was kind of sad watching it go, but a lot of financial lessons learned. The upside was I had perfect payment history on it, and it built my credit up. Like, my credit was super great when I bought this house. So in the long run, it helped me. I got really low interest rate for the house, and I learned a lot. I did a lot of stupid things on a motorcycle, though. Things I will not say because my mom is a member of my channel. So because she's a member, I know she watches these videos. I'm sure she's already having a heart attack about hearing about the sled behind the Suzuki Samurai. So I won't mention about the motorcycle. So you're welcome, Mom. But, yeah. So I don't know if my chat's not working or if everybody stopped talking. Probably my chat. My chat is stupid. Mark said SC Aquatics can confirm that panic attacks are terrifying. I haven't had one for about 5 years, but which of them are my worst enemy? I remember always saying, like, I always had anxiety, like, even growing up as a kid, but nothing like this. Like, once I had a legit panic attack, I was like, I feel like exactly like you wouldn't want to wish on people. It's like losing control of your body. Like, all I could think about was getting away from work. Like, it wasn't even work that was giving me anxiety. It was, obviously the heart issue. And, yeah, it was terrible. But I think I've only ever had anxiety, like, since I, like, mentally got past all that crap. And once I realized, like, hey, I'm not dying. And it took, like, a good year of dealing with all that. Luckily, my family's been awesome. When my parents were in Florida, my sister, I would go to her house a lot. When I was having like anxiety attacks, I would just go to her house. And actually, this was before I had my dogs. I borrowed her dog to keep around the house to help me like calm myself. Havana, that's why I was like, Havana's been a lifesaver because she came into my life at like the middle of all this. So, I adopted her. It was like perfect timing. She's been super awesome. But yeah, I borrowed my sister's dog as a as like a little buddy to to have. Dragon Lair was an A personality type and had panic attacks too. Now I am calm, never sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. Yeah, I've been honestly doing really well. Like, I honestly can't even think of the last time I had a panic attack. Like, there's been a couple times where I've been like nervous, and like like when you're on that verge of a panic attack, like you start sweating. And you're like, oh no, and then like you realize like you're on that verge and it makes everything worse. I've been there before, like not recently, but this year for sure. Like I start sweating and I'm like, oh no, I'm about to lose it, and then it's like, all right, relax, calm, and then I haven't had like a full-blown panic attack in forever. Not forever, but like a year and a half or whatever. Um, Chevy Fish said, when my heart stopped in a car accident, they gave me nitroglycerin. Yeah, see, I don't even know what they gave me. Um, I know, though, at the hospital, when I saw the cardiologist, the ambulance, they print off, like, it's like a receipt paper, but it prints off, like, everything they did in the ambulance ride. I'm assuming it's from, like, the heart machine. But I remember my cardiologist, like, looking at this, like, Santa's list, who's naughty or nice. And she's like, I see they give you whatever drug twice. And she's like, they, you know, whatever it's called, shocked you. It's like, yeah. She's like, were you awake for that? I was like, oh yeah, like, it sucked. She said they're not supposed to do that. Like, it's like, I'm assuming, I'm not a health person. Like, I'm not a paramedic, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. But the cardiologist said they're not supposed to do that, like, when you're conscious. It's like the last resort, like, I'm knocked out from my heart going. But she said, the cardiologist says they weren't supposed to do that. But, yeah, and I told her, I was like, yeah, the whatever they did to stop my heart, the twice, that was terrible. Like, when you're laying there and your heart's not working, like, at all, it hurts. Which, I don't know, like, for whatever reason, I would just think, like, if your heart stops, I wouldn't think it would be painful. It would just be like, oh, like, can't breathe or something. Like, no, it freaking hurt. Which makes me wonder, like, why does it hurt? Like, that could be a deep conversation, I guess. But, yeah, and then the electric thing, that hurt just as much. It's basically the same thing where you're, like, your back hurts, like, somebody stepping on your back, but, like, really, like, a really big person. That's what the electrical thing did too. I don't even know where are we at on time. Holy crap! I'm an hour over, and we're getting a lot of talking in. Hopefully, I'm not boring too many people. We still got 28 people watching. That's crazy. When I get done with, like, live streams, it shows me, like, maximum like, people at once. So, like, right now it says 29 people watching. At one time it could have been like 50 earlier, and then overall could have been like 200 different people. But at one time, I think last week was like 55, I think, at once. I wish it told me that, like, during the live stream. I think that'd be kind of cool to see. Public news sentence said, yesterday I had one of my angels die. I did a water change about a week ago, and I skipped a day of feeding. When I came back, he was dead. All the other fish are healthy. What do you think caused it? So the first thing I would do is, like, you can do it now. Test your water, and I test water as soon as I have, like, a dead fish. That's how I caught my tank spike of nitrates. As soon as something dies, I test water. Fish can die for a ton of different reasons. Could be it was just an old fish. Could be a fish that had an internal defect. Maybe, like, an organ didn't grow correctly, or whatever, and just it died of a natural cause. It could be stress related. If you've had these fish for a long time, it's probably not stress related unless it was being, like, picked on by other fish, but you would see that by, like, fin nipping or something like that. It could be a parasite issue if you had parasites, which, could be a stress thing as well. If you've had these fish for a very long time, I would probably rule out, like, a disease issue. I would say I would lean more towards maybe a water issue. But being that, I think, did you say you changed water like a week ago? If the tank's, I don't know if you've got a planted tank. Basically, it comes down to water parameters. Check your water. Make sure you're looking for ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates are the three main things to look for. You shouldn't have any ammonia or nitrites. Your nitrates could be high, which is why my 2 guppies died this week. the nitrates are high, which stresses them out, and then eventually it kills them. If you have ammonia, be only one fish died. If you have ammonia or nitrites, your cycle crashed or something. Your ammonia could be high if the fish was in there longer than a day, because it's decomposing, creates ammonia. That ammonia spikes, creates the nitrites. You'll see some of that maybe. But usually you just get like a bacterial bloom. It's like, hey, the bacteria can't keep up, let's bloom. And you get that cloudy water versus crashing. But I would just check your water and make sure your nitrates aren't too high. It doesn't sound like you're overfeeding, but I don't know the size of the tank or like how many plants are in it if you have plants. But anytime something dies, I always recommend testing your water to see as quickly as possible from when he died, to see what the water parameter is when he died. Mike said, just fed my fish. My 107 is starting to get bristles. Mike, do you like big bristles? Because you should see my big bristles. I know you've seen them. I'm just joking. Mike's got the same. Well, actually, these are the parents. He's got. Yeah, these should be the parents. L107s, which is the brilliant bristlenose. The breeding group I have, he's actually got some of their offspring that I didn't raise, the previous owner from my fish club raised. I'm still working on these guys. I haven't had any breeding success with them. Right now I'm focusing on those Barbados Cories. I want to get those fry to hatch and survive and get the video out, and then I'm going to go back to focusing on these guys. I kind of got into the rainbows there for a minute. They're doing their thing. I just put a mop in there today. But I want to get back. You can even see the rainbows with the lights off. Yeah. But yeah, these L107s, I definitely, that's my gold sitting there that I need to get going. I really want to breed those because they are super awesome, and not a ton of people have them, and I think they should. But they're not like super outgoing like the Super Reds. You won't be able to see the Super Reds. Like Super Reds are always out moving around. These guys are kind of timid and hiding. I noticed they are out more often now, but they're not all over the tank. Like, they don't suction up on the glass. They're always on something like the caves or on a plant. But they're getting out more. But yeah, so I want to get these guys going. Guys, it's been over 2 hours. I think I should probably call it quits. I need to go spend time with the dogs. This is I can't even say it's my weekend off because I got that horse thing going. But yeah. Anyways, I think I'm caught up on chat as far as I can go. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for the super chat earlier, Kathy. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for my members. Appreciate you guys. I'll try to do some videos from Sunday. Hopefully there's no horse accidents. But thanks for listening to all the rants and rambles, and everybody for hanging out, all 31 of you right now. Thank you guys. I'll see you next Friday, and I'll get a video out this week. Members, if you're watching, I'll have 1 or 2 videos for you guys to watch before I upload them to the main channel. But thanks guys so much for hanging out, and whoever placed the orders tonight, I got the notifications. Thank you for those orders, and I'll see you guys later. Stay fishy, my friends. I'm stealing Ofar's tag. I am. Stay fishy. See you guys.